Hi, I'm Six Stones, back with another video. I know it's been a while, 2 months since my last video, but Across the Spider-Verse is now out on digital. And now I feel like it's the perfect time for me to talk about Beyond the Spider-Verse and my hopes and fears for that movie. But I can't talk about that without acknowledging the amazing support you guys gave me on the last video. That video did way better than I ever expected. 30,000 plus views for a 100 subscriber channel at the time is insane. I appreciate every single one of you that commented, liked, or even just watched the video. And if you subbed, I appreciate you even more. If you're back to watch this video, welcome back. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you stay with me. I will try to make videos a bit more frequent, but no promises, as I am starting uni soon. But look, I know I said I was going to do the post-Spider-Verse review in the last video, but it's been way too long since the movie came out now. I feel like it'd be pointless for me to do a review, and I feel like you guys already know how I feel about the movie. I love it. It's great. 6 out of 6 Infinity Stones, 10 out of 10. Banger movie. One of my favorite comic movies of all time. One of my favorite movies of all time. Masterpiece. And if Beyond the Spider-Verse is as good as this, even if Beyond the Spider-Verse is as good as Into the Spider-Verse, I think this will go down as one of the best trilogies in cinema. Cinema. Not comic book movies, cinema. As you know, while I ramble, there'll be some art in the background. Feel free to follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you want to see more of my art. But let's get to it. Beyond the Spider-Verse, hopes and fears. First hope. I want the animators to have a good time making this movie. I'm sure you guys by now have heard all the stuff that's been going on, apparently behind the scenes when they were making this movie. And apparently the animators were not having a good time. They were very stressed, overworked, crazy hours, and I feel like that's become a big problem in the industry recently. And you've probably also heard that Beyond the Spider-Verse has been delayed indefinitely, which, even though it's sad that we're not going to get it anytime soon and we're going to wait on that cliffhanger for ages, it does make me happy to know that they're taking the time to make sure this movie is perfect, and that hopefully it's made good within a reasonable time span, within reasonable limitations, within comfortable work environments for the animators, and nobody's stressed, and so forth. That is my first hope, right? And I think that's the most important hope. I want proper exploration of the character of Earth 42 Miles, or Miles G. Morales as he is labelled in the Across the Spider-Verse art book, which still has not arrived for me, by the way. Slight tangent, I ordered this art book on July 5th on Amazon, right? It is currently, as of the recording of this video, August 22nd, and I am yet to even have an email saying when it's supposed to arrive. I don't know when I'm going to get that art book. I wished I had it for this video, because I could use it as reference for stuff I want to talk about, but unfortunately, no. Anyway, yeah, I hope we get a good exploration of Earth 42 Miles and how his character differs from Miles. Now, one thing I did see is that from the art book, we do know that Earth 42 Miles isn't evil per se. He is a vigilante in this world, so he is a somewhat good person, but he's probably more on the edgier side. He's a bit more brutal, most likely, a bit more edge to him. You can tell just by the way he looks, how his design looks, the lines on his face, prowler persona that he's taken, and just the way he's represented in that ending scene of the movie. So I really hope we explore that, we get a good conversation between the two, what it's like for Miles G. Morales knowing that he lost his father. And clearly, it looks like he's gone down the path where Miles has gone down the path of like, okay, I'm gone to the student, I've gone to this nice college, my parents are both there, they both want me to do well. He's a bit more well off compared to Miles G. Morales, where he looks like he's had to struggle for a lot. And don't get me wrong, Miles probably had to struggle too, he's struggled for things also, but Miles G. Morales looks like he's been brought up with a lot more money trouble and a lot more criminal aspects, which is great because the character of Miles has always been a character that's supposed to explore that. That's why you have the whole uncle and father dynamic, where the father is a police officer and the uncle is a criminal, because it's like, for black men in a lot of places, you have that path of diversion and you have those two options. You can either make some quick money through crime and join a gang and do that stuff and yada yada, or you can walk the straight and narrow. Miles more represents the straight and narrow, and Miles G. Morales looks like he's a little bit in that darker side, you know? Not all the way, because he's a vigilante and he still fights the good, but he's on that side, and I hope that's properly explored in Beyond the Spider-Verse, because it's such an interesting idea, and I love that they introduced that at the end of Across the Spider-Verse. Adding on to that, I want to explore Earth-42 for a good amount in the next movie as well. I hope that's properly explored, because we know that the Sinister Six, or the Sinister Six Syndicate, has taken over that section of New York, or New York as a whole, in that universe, and Earth-42 Miles is fighting back against them. So I really hope we see that Earth's version of the Sinister Six. Most likely, we might see Miles have to help Earth-42 Miles deal with that problem before Earth-42 Miles helps Miles with his problem, which could be really cool. I want to see how that world functions under the Sinister Six, because you can see in the background, Electro's got a section, Scorpion's got a section, all these different villains have their own sections which they run. I really wish to explore that. I want to know what their designs are like in this universe. That is something I'm really interested to see. I think a fight against the Sinister Six Syndicate would be really cool, and you could have it where like the Sinister Six Syndicate goes up against Miles, Earth-42 Miles, and Gwen's team of Spider-Man, just because the Sinister Six might be a larger group, so be a way to even it out. That could be a very cool sequence. And with the animation and everything and the art of Across the Spider-Verse, that could go crazy. That could look phenomenal, with all these different Spider-Man using their styles to fight, and then you have the unique styles of the Sinister Six going up against them, and seeing Miles and Earth-42 like teaming up, like Prowler and Spider-Man. It's just a fantastic sequence waiting to be animated, so I really hope we get that. But yeah, moving on. Now, the next hope, and this also will be a fear in here as well, the truth behind canon events and the Spider-Verse is something I really hope we find out in the next movie, and I'm pretty sure we are guaranteed to find out that in the next movie. Because if you watched my last video on Miguel and why I believe like the Spider-Man agreeing or fighting with Miguel does make sense in Across the Spider-Verse, I do also point out that I don't think Miguel is 100% correct. I think Miguel has an idea. I think Miguel is pretty close. I think some things that Miguel is saying is true, but he doesn't have the full picture. There's some things he just doesn't understand and wouldn't be able to understand. And I would like that to be revealed, why Miles is different, but not in the negative sense that Miguel thinks. I think where he's wrong is the way he views Miles. And I think that he's missing some key parts about Miles' story that kind of contradict his theory. And I hope he is able to see that in the next movie. And I want a Miguel redemption. Now, one of my fears is that this theory that I've seen going around, that Miguel is going to secretly be evil and he's actually just a horrible person and he's been lying to everybody and yada yada, is going to be revealed in the next movie. I hope that doesn't happen. I think it's an awful theory. I think it's terrible for the character of Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Man 29. And I feel like a lot of people that think that theory is even remotely close to being true have no understanding of Spider-Man 29 as a character. I hope that's not true, because what people need to understand that Miguel, yes, he's aggressive, yes, he has anger issues, but he always wants to do what is right. And if you've read Miguel comics or Spider-Man 29 comics, you'll know that, yes, he messes up a lot due to his anger and his strive to want to do the right thing, and sometimes his aggression leads him down to do things that just aren't okay, but he will apologize when he knows he's messed up. When he's messed up, he knows he's messed up, and he will do whatever it takes to make it right. I hope in the next movie he gets his redemption, he teams up with Miles, and then they deal with the threat of the Spot. I doubt he's going to be involved in the Sinister Six conflict, but probably just the Spot. And another thing I am hoping for with Miguel O'Hara is the white Spider-Man 29 suit. Now, if you haven't noticed this, in the background of Across the Spider-Verse, you can actually see in one of the scenes the white Spider-Man 29 suit being built. And I hope it's being built for a specific fight in Across the Spider-Verse. Now, I'm assuming it's probably being built to combat the Spots. I love the white Spider-Man 29 suit. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man suits ever. I think it looks phenomenal. I really hope we see it in the movie. We also see some designs of it in the Across the Spider-Verse art book. Some artists I followed on Twitter have shared how they came to the conclusion of designing that they purposefully did place that in the background. So I hope we see that as well in Beyond the Spider-Verse. Something else I want to see in Beyond the Spider-Verse, and something that I believe one of the directors already hinted at, is more exploration of Gwen. I thought Gwen was so beautifully explored in Across the Spider-Verse. and she truly was the heart of that movie, that emotional core. And I would love to explore her more, how she feels now that Gwen believes Miles kind of hates her. I believe one of the directors or somebody behind the movie dropped a hint of there being multiple Gwens in this movie. Now, if you've read the comics, there was a comic book where it starred Spider-Gwen with a bunch of other Gwens. You had like Captain America Gwen, you had Wolverine Gwen, Gwenpool, I think. Actually, I'm not sure if Gwenpool's in that one, but it's like a bunch of Gwens that were basically different heroes throughout Marvel Comics. And it'll be kind of cool to see that in Beyond the Spider-Verse. I'm very curious how they're going to fit that in to an already pretty stuffed movie of storylines they got to address, but I think that would be really cool. Also, I want to see the rest of the Spider Crew explored more. We got the old Spider Crew from Into the Spider-Verse coming back with Penny and Spider-Ham and Spider-Man Noir. And we've got the current group of Spider-Men that were introduced in Across the Spider-Verse with Spider-Punk and Spider-Man India, and I want to see them explored more. I'd love to see Spider-Man India get like a little bit more screen time. Hobie, I want to see get a bit more screen time. Hobie's interesting because I'm very curious as to how Hobie knows about Miles's electricity powers. That is something that has been on my mind ever since I watched the movie, is how does he know about his powers so well? And is there something more to Hobie that meets the eye? Because I've seen quite a few theories surrounding Hobie. I've seen some people say that he might actually be an alternate version of Miles. I've seen some people say that Hobie might end up being the Prowler. I've seen some people say that Hobie is secretly the true villain of the whole Spider-Verse trilogy. I'm not too sure about all of those. I'm not sure if it's going to be as extreme as some of those. But either way, I am curious to learn about Hobie's deal, and if there is anything more to it than what we saw. If there isn't, I don't think I'll be that bothered, but it feels like they're hinting to something. So something else I hope they get right in Beyond the Spider-Verse is the character of the Spot. I thought they did such a great job with the Spot and Across the Spider-Verse, from turning him from this D-tier villain of the week type character to this really interesting multiversal threat by the end of the movie. And it's not just he's some multiversal threat that doesn't have any layers to him. He actually has layers. You see the reason why he's doing what he is. You see the hints towards how he feels, how he's like undermined and everything. And I hope they maintain that nuance going into Beyond the Spider-Verse. I hope it's not something as simple as just knock out the bad guy, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, I want an epic Spot battle, but I don't want it to be as simple as just, we just beat up the Spot, he bad, and he go away. I want there to be an actual discussion behind the reasons the Spot became how he was, and I would like Miles to actually speak to him as a person, help him understand himself and accept himself, because that's the true issue with the Spot that he is suffering with, that he lacks acceptance of himself because everyone else disregards him. Nobody cares about him. This tragedy that happened to him alienated him from society. So I hope Miles talks to that part of him and attempts to make him feel better about himself and kind of talks him down rather than just, he's knocked out, it's over, yada yada, fireworks and gun ho. And I feel like with this movie, I want it to be a case where, so in the first movie, it was very much, the first half was the Spot, and then the second half was the Spider-Verse conflict. In this movie, I feel like it's going to be maybe 3 sections, but in the front half, you're probably going to have the Earth-42 Miles, the Miles stuff, Spider people conflict in the middle, where you're going to have Miguel versus Miles' group. I assume they'll be together by this point. You have them versus each other, Miguel's redemption leading on into the final part, which will be the Spot conflict. Just me saying that kind of leads into my one major fear of this movie, and that's there is a lot of stuff for them to address in this movie. There is a lot of plot points, and it can very easily feel super bloated and could train wreck itself. Now, I have all the hope in the world in this team to execute this and ace it. If I was to put faith in anybody, it would be the people behind Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. They've done a brilliant job with these past 2 movies, handling mass amounts of characters in a beautiful fashion that is both entertaining and heartfelt and nuanced. And I have a lot of faith that they'll be able to do that with this movie. But it will always be in the back of my mind, the worry that that's a lot to deal with. You got a lot on your plate. But hey, that's why they delayed the movie. And that's why we'll get the movie when it's done, when it's ready, and when it's perfect. With that, that concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and comment your hopes and fears for Beyond the Spider-Verse below. I would love to discuss that with you. I really enjoyed discussing with you in the last video, so hopefully we can do that again. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe, and I hope you have a very balanced day.